with foster care and aftercare services, because of someone, I suppose I worked in that sector in a two-step fund in a commission service. And I'd like to raise, I suppose, is there any possibility? I know that you said in your opening statement here that, and I'm aware of this myself, that aftercare services are for 16 to 21-year-olds, but and it's extended to 23 for children that remain in, or for young people, I suppose, that remain in education settings. Is there any way that that could be taken out of it, that they don't have to continue with education? Because we can see a lot of people, a lot of young people, you know, get into youth homelessness or because when they leave aftercare. And aftercare is a really important and I suppose a really great support for some of young people leaving the care system. And this stipulation that they have to remain in training education, I wonder that be considered that the service should be extended to 23 regardless of education. Just, you know, just for consideration. And also, I suppose, regarding special emergency arrangements and special care, like again, because I worked in a commission service, and ECCE, you know, the Creative Community Alternatives Programme is a fantastic initiative, you know, to keeping people out of care, I suppose, and it's a fantastic initiative. But often, due to lack of multi-annual funding and short-term contracts for staff, it's hard to recruit staff. So I suppose that's an area specifically because it's so focused and so targeted. I think multi-annual funding to ensure that staff would be recruited to remain in that sector. And then just from early years, I suppose, I'm so delighted to hear that the state, there is going to be an introduction of public provision with state-led facilities, which is fantastic. But I suppose I'm just wondering, could we get more details on that? Is it that it's going to happen within school settings? Is it that, you know, or we'll say community-led childcare provision are going to be taken over? Or, you know, just a little bit more detail around that. And also, I know from the AIM programme, it's brilliant again that there's a great, and it's fantastic that it's being extended to younger children. But I know from working with a lot of parents, from meeting a lot of parents with children with additional needs, that the after schools or school age children are really struggling in after school. So, like, is there any way that this could be extended, that the AIM programme could be extended, even for, you know, services that are providing after school or for school age children? Could they get the level 5 supports, you know, which is a physical adaptation supports, but most importantly, could they get level 7 funding so that the staff ratio, children ratio could go down? You know, that, and I think that has come up more and more, that it's great from preschool and it's great that it's been extended to younger than the ECCE programme, but could it be extended to school age children as well? And I suppose the third question, sorry for throwing them all at you, that I know that the Equal Start programme, again, is a fantastic initiative and it's really targeted. And, you know, from the Children's Rights Alliance report yesterday about the 100,000 children living in consistent poverty, I think that Equal Start programme initiative is a really successful initiative. I know that from my own community, with families that I've worked with, and I'm wondering, is that going to be extended, particularly maybe where there is direct provision centres and IPAS centres opened, that, you know, I suppose there's a lot of the services that are provided in certain areas, particularly in rural areas where a lot of the facilities mightn't be in the first place. Some of those targeted approach measures would be fantastic to see, you know, in line when these services are being opened, or facilities are being opened. And then the last thing is that, you know, I know providers of the ECCE only services often feel that they can be, particularly the smaller community-based providers, often felt that they've been overlooked and that maybe that they weren't able to compete with some of the larger chains and full daycare settings. Is there any, I suppose, additional kind of supports that can be available within the core funding model for these ones that just provide ECCE services, please? Thank you for all the questions.
Thanks, Senator. Look, I suppose just in terms of foster care, I am going to say to you that I want to be entirely supportive of the foster care. I believe it is the right solution, you know, for children. As I said earlier, we have 87.2% of children in care in the foster care system, and I want to see even more than that in it, because I think it's the right environment for them. Distinct to that, where you talk about the aftercare, and it is, as you said, tied to education. I'm happy to look at everything and anything, to be quite honest with you. But you're talking to a former Minister for Education here now, so I'm going to be straight up and say to you, I have an abiding loyalty and respect for the education system and the opportunity that it might provide. But I do know that no one system and no one box suits everybody. So, and that's why I would like to see young people get the opportunity, whether it's apprenticeship, further education, whatever kind of education it is. But I am happy to look where because there will always be exceptions and where things mightn't be as straightforward, you know what I mean? So I will say that. But I want to be honest about my loyalty to the whole education thing. I believe it is the greatest leveller of all, you know, and I say that with more than 25 years experience working in the world of education. Just in terms of the recruitment of staff and all of that, they're hugely important. Not just the recruitment, but the retention of the staff that we have there presently as well. We are doing a body of work there in terms of ensuring that, you know, there is greater opportunity there. The early years in the public model, yeah, we're committed to that. I want to be clear that that is alongside, I suppose, the providers, supporting the providers to give the maximum, okay? But the public model will be an important model. And you referenced, you know, whether it would be in school, if it would be in school buildings or whatever. Now, in some instances that may be the case, and it might be an outside provider coming in to do whatever in the school building. We have last year launched within the schools the system where that if they're in a position to give over any element of their property, anything that they make out of it, they hold themselves. I think the principle of schools being used for support to the community is an important one. So that may well be the case, but it's not limited to that. It's wherever the facility might be, build, buy, lease, whatever we have to do. But it is important that the state would provide that opportunity. Just in terms of the aims aspect of it, I'm a big supporter of that because that's inclusion at its best. And I do want to say that we are looking at this notion of after school and seeing, you know, what potential might be there going forward. There's a whole plethora of things we'd like to do. Lots of it is dependent on how budgets go and everything else, like, but that's, you know, but what we don't achieve, you know, the first day we have, I would hope, a number of years to achieve it. Equal Start, I want to say as well, it's our absolute intention to expand that as much as possible. So I'm out of time, am I? Yeah, sorry.